All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to another amazing session with Analytics. I hope you guys are excited to be here on this call. If you're excited to be here, just go ahead and go into the chat and type yes, 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 yes. All right. You can put yes times 1 million, yes times 2 million. I don't know how excited you are, but the X and the number behind the X determines how excited you are. All right, fantastic. So I can see Tommy, Terdet, Mohammed, fantastic. All right, so I want to see those comments coming in. Okay, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. All right, let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. I can only see 2 responses so far. The rest of us, are we not excited to be here? Two. Okay. I can see more coming in. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. All right, please, let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Okay, so once again, good evening, every one of us on this call. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm hoping you guys are as well. So today we are going to be touching on an interesting topic, okay? Looking at the HR and finance data and how we can predict the correlation between these two places and understand how they impact each other. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring up my screen. Okay. I know a lot of us are already joining the call already, but I'm going to go ahead and bring up my screen so that we can look at this specific um, case study today. All right. Okay. Give me a moment. All right. So let's go in. All right, fantastic. Okay, so I believe you all can see my screen now, and you can also hear me perfectly fine. All right, so if you can see my screen, you can hear me, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I can see your screen, Mary. I can hear you perfectly fine. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up. All right, are we there? Fantastic, fantastic. So I can see some responses coming in already. Don't worry, we're going to be answering a good number of questions today, and I want all of us to pay close attention because we're going to be performing some magic, not necessarily magic, but I'm going to say we are going to be performing some magic today using Excel, okay? We're going to be performing some magic today using Excel. All right, so we'll be predicting employee performance and financial outcomes using Excel. All right, so let's dive in. Now, before we get started, I would like to introduce the sponsor for this particular meeting today, which is no other than Tenalytics. All right. So Tenalytics is an edtech company that is focused on and specialized in training individuals in technology skills, delivering comprehensive data consultation services across industries. Now, with over 4 years of building talent for technology workforce, we have helped over 2,855 individuals transition from classrooms into their first jobs in tech across the UK, US, Canada, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And we are committed to making the technology sector more accessible through premium experiential training in data analytics, business analysis, data engineering, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, agile project management and scrum master, as well as cybersecurity and AI engineering. All right. So our team of instructors are from global companies like Apple, Microsoft, McKinsey, Amazon, and so on and so forth. And we are going to bring in that wealth of experience and practical into our session tonight. All right. So we're going to be learning how to make use of Excel to create interesting information or to create data-driven information in the field of HR as well as financial analytics. Okay, so first of all, I would also like to introduce myself. My name is Mary. I am, okay, just give me a minute. All right, so my name is Mary. I'm a senior data associate and team lead of HR analytics and financial analytics department here at Analytics, with over 6 years of experience in the field of data analytics, data science, HR analytics, and AI engineering, and an expertise in building data-driven solutions and AI-powered solutions for performance optimization. All right. Now, I have helped over 1,000 employees or 1,000 trainees transform or transition from the classroom into their first careers in tech or owning their tech skills, in fact. And I have worked across diverse industries, including the government sectors, the NGO, marketing, edtech, and technology consulting. Now, advocating for both women in tech, data literacy, as well as AI driven innovations. All right. Now, with me tonight is no other than Priscilla. So, Priscilla is a passionate educator, an expert, a career strategist with close to half a decade of experience in the world of blockchain technology and data analytics. And as a growth catalyst here at Analytics, she has been instrumental in helping individuals navigate the complex tech eco landscape, guiding them in choosing the right career path, onboarding them into data-driven paths, and providing the support they need to land their first jobs in tech. Now, she has experience spanning across freelance data analyst, crypto educator, technical support personnel, and tech career coach, and so on and so forth. Now, with a strong commitment to career transformation, Priscilla has successfully onboarded and mentored over 500 individuals, helping them transition seamlessly into tech and securing meaningful job opportunities. All right. So you're going to be meeting Priscilla very soon. But first of all, we need to have a hands-on, practical. All right. We need to have a hands-on practical to understand why or what we are actually doing here today. Okay. Now, before we get started, I would just like us to have some good understanding of what we want to achieve today. Okay. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to be working on a case study, right, to understand employee performance and financial outcomes, right? So blending finance and HR and seeing exactly how these two information or data impacts each other. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to understand how we can get started to become financial analyst or HR analyst, all right? And then we'll be looking at success stories and special discounts. So this would enable us to understand how we can get started and access or secure our slots in these particular programs. All right. So let's dive in. Okay, so the first thing we want to do here, okay, I believe we can still all see my screen. All right, so the first thing we want to do here is to take the first step, which is to understand exactly who is going to be analyzing this data, because I'm going to be needing all the help I can get from every one of you here. All right. I would need all the help I can get from every one of you here to actually analyze these data. So I want you guys to pay close attention to everything that we are doing and to capture every important point in our data transformation processes. Okay. So let's dive in. All right. So first of all, let's understand this. Who is a HR analyst, or who is an HR analyst? Now, usually when we think about HR, we think about HR as a process that every business carries out administratively, right? Like signing off leave, or in fact, conflict resolutions and things like that, right? But in this situation, a HR analyst works with employee data to help organizations understand and improve how people's performance, or individuals within the organization, are managed, right? So they don't just work in an administrative role, they take actionable steps towards understanding, analyzing people focused data to help the organization make sense of its employee, understand how to take care of them, and also use the information that they get to run the business much better, right? So most of the key focus areas that a HR analyst is going to handle is going to be places like workforce demography and diversity. All right. This is to understand the kind of employees that you have. Are we hiring more males or females? Do we have more males or females, in number? Do we have more married individuals, or what's it called, or single people, or in fact divorced individuals, right? This kind of questions basically helps us to plan strategically towards different aspects of the organization. Let's say, for example, you are looking at, benefits in the organization, right? And you want to understand what kind of benefits do we actually need to give these individuals, or provide for them rather, right? You look at your workforce demography, you see exactly the population that you have, and you find out ways to actually provide or make things available to take care of this employee. The same occurs in terms of performance and productivity trends. Analyzing this key factor enables you to understand where the workforce is in terms of contributing to the general goal of the organization. And then we also have other key focus areas that help organizations make strategic decisions, right? We are going to look at all of these things, directly in the program. But right here, I just want us to understand what the HR analyst does. Now, let's quickly look at the financial analyst as well. Okay, we're not going to leave that aside. We are also talking about the financial analyst. Now, for the financial analyst basically helps understand financial data within organizations, right? So let's say, what do? They help us understand where money goes to, where it's coming from, how it has been used, okay, and what can be done to improve the financial results that are gotten from this particular report, right? So they basically help us analyze the spends that go on in the organization, and they also help us with budgeting, forecasting, building financial model, and evaluating financial performance. All right. Now that we have this, two information noted, I would like to ask us a quick question before we dive into our practicals for today. Okay, so the first thing is going to be, who is a HR analyst? Who is a HR analyst? You can go ahead and type your answer in the comment section. Who is a HR analyst? Okay, who is a HR analyst? Okay, I'm waiting for that response. For those of us that are paying attention, who is a HR analyst? I want to see your answers. Who is a HR analyst? Okay, while we are trying to type in our answers, I also want to know who a financial analyst is. Let me just move this screen from here so I don't have people copying. All right. So who is a HR analyst and who is a financial analyst? Let's go. Anyone? Awesome. So Tommy says a HR analysts are concerned with personal data. Okay. HR analysts are concerned with personal data like demography, etc. Fantastic one. You caught that right. Now, P says HR analyst, someone who uses employee data to make informed choices in an organization. Amazing. That's exactly it, right? Who uses people data to make informed choices, informed decisions in an organization. The same applies for the financial analyst. It uses financial data, where money is coming from, where money is going to, how money is being spent, and what are the measures to take to ensure that the company is in a safe net in terms of income generation or rather profit maximization, right? So these are the key areas that these individuals function in, and I believe we've been able to speak on some of the focus areas where they actually make contributions or impact within an organization. All right. Now that we have this particular information set, okay, we can now go ahead and look at what we are going to be solving today. All right. So we have an interesting case study, okay, an interesting case study that is going to help us understand how to use Excel to predict and analyze performance data. We're also going to understand how to connect HR metrics to financial outcomes, and we'll understand how to translate data insights into strategic recommendations. All right. We're going to understand how to translate data insights into strategic recommendations based on the outputs that we are going to be getting in our data report. Okay. I hope we are ready. If you are ready, all right, just type in the chat. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I want to see that comment. I'm good to go. I'm ready. All right. Just type in the chat. Yeah, yeah. Fantastic. So I can see home. I can see P as well. All right. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Yeah, yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good to know that every one of us is basically ready for this session. All right. So now that we understand what we are about to achieve, let's get started and get a little bit of understanding of what this case study is all about. All right. So first of all right, I would like us to understand what company we are going to be working with today. All right, the company we are going to be working with today. So today we'll be working with the Novatech Solutions Limited. This is a growing technology and consulting firm with over 800 employees across diverse departments, right? So we can see that listed out here: HR, finance, sales, development, support, marketing, and operations, right? So these are the diverse departments that are available in this company. Now, one thing we need to note here is that recently management noticed varying levels of employee performance and uneven financial outcomes across teams. Now, to strengthen data-driven decision-making, HR and the financial analysts have been tasked to use Excel analytics to predict employee performance, identify drivers of productivity, and link HR metrics to financial results. So with that, we're going to be answering, some key questions here, okay, which is no other than identifying the top 3 employees with the highest ROI. This will allow us to dig into, performance data to understand how these employees' outputs are contributing to revenue. Now, we'll also look at the correlation between key HR factors, and we'll look at which department has the highest average performance score. Now, before we do all of this, we need to calculate some key metrics, which would require us to get our data, clean our data, sort our data out, and then we look at those metrics. After we get this information or the information we need from the metrics, then we go ahead to create some charts to see who the top performing employees are as well as the departments where we have the highest average performance. All right, so let's dive in. So we have a data set here for us to make use of. Okay, we have a data set here for us to make use of, and I'm going to be dropping the link in the chat box. All right, so let's see that. Okay, so we have what? Excel. All right, we have an Excel link right here. So I believe a lot of us right now do have Excel on our PC. So if you like to join in, you can go ahead and do that. Although I would recommend that you pay attention. Now, after the call is over, you can now go back and practice some of these things. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on, this link. Okay. All right. Let me just go here. All right. Okay, so I'm waiting for that to come up. All right, so this is the data set that we are making use of today, or rather, these are the data sets that we are making use of today. All right, so we have the HR performance data, and we also have the Q3 finance report from the finance team as well. All right, so the HR data, performance data, includes a lot of information about employee demography and performance factors such as training hours, job satisfaction, absence tracking, performance scores, monthly salary, and promotion eligibility, right? So these are key things that will help us understand where our employees are at the moment, okay? All right. So now the other thing that we need to look at here is going to be the finance data. For this financial data, okay, we have the employee ID, mostly for individuals in the finance department. Now we have the full names of the employees, the department, the month, start date, okay, for I believe this particular quarter, and then the monthly salary that's been paid out, the bonuses, the revenue managed, the cost to company information, as well as the profit contribution. So we can see all of those factors right here on our screen. Now it's time for us to actually make sense of this data, because if I asked us what is the total revenue managed right here with all of these rows and columns, I'm sure nobody is going to be able to give me an actual answer until we are able to scrunch all these numbers up to actually understand how much money was generated in revenue and the profit contributions so far. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next stage, which is sharing of this link. All right. So let me just go ahead and copy this, and you'll be seeing it in the chat box. Now, I also want us to note that there is a link being shared across to us right now. It's for your attendance, all right? Now, this attendance form also serves as a link for you to be able to access all the materials that you need, including the recording for this particular session, just in case you want to go back to it, all right? So make sure to fill it out properly, and then you would also be getting everything for this particular session. All right. So again, you have the dataset link titled dataset coming up right now. Okay, I believe we can all see that. All right. So once you get the link, just go ahead and click on it, and it will take you to this particular page here. And I'll show you exactly how to download the data, especially for those of us that might not know how to download it. Okay. So just click on the link I just sent right now. It's titled data set. Okay. You will also see our link for attendance. And once you see that, on top of that, you are going to see your data set link. All right, so just go into the comment section. That's where we are dropping all the links. go run to the comment section. All right. Okay, fantastic. So I can see diverse individuals are already joining here. On this sheet, I can see anonymous bat, anonymous koala, anonymous elephant, okay, anonymous hyena, anonymous grizzly. So I'm hoping to see more anonymous, all right? So click on that link and get right here. Now, let me show you how to download these data sets into your local device. That is your File Explorer, okay? Just go ahead, click on File, okay? Once you click on File, you get this amazing drop down with all the diverse instructions that you need. Now you go to where you have download, all right? And then you click on Microsoft Excel. This is to allow you to download this particular file that is presently on the cloud-based Google Sheets into your local device, all right? So click on Excel, Microsoft Excel, and your data set should start downloading instantly, all right? Okay, so I can see mine is already downloading here. Okay, so you can see Novatech Solution Limited Data, all right? So it should come with these two sheets, HR performance data and financial reports. So once you download it, you are halfway there. Let me not say halfway there. Let's say a quarter way there. All right, let's put it that way because we still have a lot to do. Okay, all right. So now that we have a good, flow, or we have the data set that we need, we are about to get into the next stage of work. All right, so stay tuned. I'm about to switch to my work screen. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so all right. So give me a moment. Let me bring up my screen here. All right, so right here, I already have my data set, okay? Ignore the ambience, right? So right here, I already have my data set. But for me to get started with this particular case study, I need to open a fresh Excel sheet, okay? I need to open what? A fresh Excel sheet. So how do I do that? I just go into my Windows Start button here. I click on it and then I'll just go ahead and select what? Excel. Okay, so that's Excel opening up right there. Like I said, a fresh sheet. So I'm going to open up a blank report workbook. Okay, excuse me. I hope you can still hear me. All right, sorry about that. So we are going to continue from here. Like I said, we are opening up a blank report page that has no data at all. Now, why are we taking this step? We want to be able to import our data, work on it inside a tool called Power Query. Now, I'm sure a lot of us have heard of Power Query, and a good number of us have never heard of Power Query. Now, what is Power Query? Let's first of all get into that software for us to actually understand what I'm saying. So first things first, we are going to be importing our data, all right? So let's take it as a process of preparing for something, right? So let's say, for example, you want to get your child ready to play with their toys, right? Or your niece or your nephew or your neighbor's kids, right? If you're not in any of these categories, right? Now you want to get this individual to play with their toys, right? Now, before you get them to play with their toys, you have to go and get those toys, isn't it? You have to go to the box, the room, or wherever those toys are and actually pick them up and bring them. The same applies with our data, right? We have to extract them from wherever they are. In this situation, it is already inside of your PC, right? So we are going to dive in there, okay, and import. So I'll just go to my data tab here and then click on get data, go to file, and go to my Excel workbook to import my data, right? Now, what do I want to go for? I'm definitely going to my downloads area where I have my Novatech Solutions Limited data. All right, I'll just go ahead and click on that and import. Okay, import my data. Now, what happens? My toys that I just got, I realized that when I got to that box where I'm supposed to pick up the toys, I realized that some of the toys were what? They were very, very filthy. They were dirty, right? And that is where you basically take it to where you can clean it up before giving it to that child, just in case you don't want them to ingest germs, right? Now, the same thing applies to our data cleaning process, which is what we are trying to do now, get our data into our Power Query, okay? We want to make sure that our data is clean enough before we start analyzing it. So we have to take it into a place where we can clean it, get it ready for analysis, and then we'll start working on it. So now that we discovered that our toys are a bit dirty, let's go ahead and clean it up before giving it to the child to play with, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on transform data. All right. And you can see both of my data sets is now in here inside the tool called Power Query. Power Query is a transformation tool, a data transformation tool that helps us to transform our data, right? Now, the next thing I want to do here is to take a simple step. All right. And that simple step is no other than creating, or rather duplicating, my financial data and combining my HR data with my finance data. Since we want to see the impact of finance in the HR side of things, right? Now, how is performance and revenue generation? How do they correlate with each other and all of those things? So we want to figure out those key metrics, isn't it? So let's go ahead. Here, I'm just going to right click and duplicate my finance data. Now, the next thing I want to do here is to rename this particular data. So I'll just click on this finance data. I'm going to just put HR in front of that. Okay, HR finance. Okay, so just to indicate that we have two data here. Now, based on the fact that we actually want to merge this, that is why we are giving it that name, HR and finance. So we are creating a new table to do that specifically. All right. Now, the next thing we want to do here is going to be to take this HR data and combine it with the finance data. Remember, we just duplicated the finance data, right? And left this here. Now, let's go on. The next thing we want to do is to go to our home tab here, and we want to get what we call, want to click on what we call the merge query. So I'll just click on this drop down here. Okay, this gives me an option to actually merge two or multiple tables together. So right here, I'm just going to click on merge queries. Okay, and this allows me to see the HR and finance data that I'm currently on, which just has my finance information. Now I'm going to click on this to select my HR data because I still haven't imported it here. Now, the key thing to understand here is that to combine, or rather merge two tables together, you have to use what we call your employee ID, okay? Employee ID, all right? Or rather your common columns, all right? That's basically it. So in this situation, the finance table and the HR table both have employee IDs, and that's exactly what we are going to bank on. Now, the next thing I want to do, now that I can see that we have exact matches 258 of 258, then we're good to go, all right? So I'll go ahead and click OK and let the merging begin. Now, we have a new column here that we need to extend and extract data from. This is just the HR data. To extend it, I'll just go ahead and click on this button here. All right. The first thing I want to do, I want to make sure that my data expands. I don't want it to have the prefix of the previous table. So I'll uncheck this information. Okay, uncheck all columns. And what I want to select, you know what, let's select all the columns. I'll just remove the columns that they have already. So I know that the finance data already has employee ID, so I'll be taking that out. There's no need for that. I also believe we have, okay, yes, we have salary information in the finance table, so we don't need the monthly salary information again. So now that we have all we need, I believe we can just go ahead and click OK. Okay, and you can see our table just goes ahead to extend. Okay, so we have our HR data and our finance data in the same place. Okay, HR data and finance data in the same place. All right, so now that we have that properly filled, okay, we can now go into our Excel and start making some extra magic. All right. So I'm just going to close and apply this so that we can get into the other side of work. I mean, we can't spend all the time cleaning our data, but we can spend more time making sense of it, right? So let's dive in. Okay. So I'm going to close and apply this, and you see my data starts importing into the Excel interface. So right here, you will notice that all the data set I had inside of Power Query are now here in my Excel sheet without me opening the original data set that I actually downloaded. I just imported it, all right, using Power Query, and I can now have access to both the combined data, the previous data set for HR and finance separately. And now let's get to solving, or rather creating some interesting solutions. All right. So the first thing we want to do here is to get some knowledge about our HR data. What do we want to understand, right? We want to understand the total number of employees that we are dealing with here, all right? The performance score, because at the end of the day, we are evaluating how HR and finance information impact each other. So we want to know if the performance score is impacted by any financial performance, and if our, financial performance is a direct result of, let's say, poor performance in the organization. All right. So if we have a good financial output, we might also see the reflection in the performance data, isn't it? So these two departments are working hand in hand to understand what is going on with their employees, and if the performance of the employees directly impacts poor performance or the better performance of the finance output. All right. So, like I said, we need to understand how many employees we are dealing with. Currently, what is the average performance score? The amount of training hours that have been put in. All right. So, usually, when an organization wants to boost its employees' output or performance, they do what? They train them, right? So we want to evaluate how much hours have been spent in training these employees, and if it can also give us a good understanding of how these individuals are performing. Now, the other thing is the count of employees, right? How many employees do we have? All right. How many employees do we have? What is the training hours? And also, what is the average performance? And finally, absenteeism. Now, a lot of us might think, oh, why are we looking at absenteeism, or how many days our employees are absent? Now, this could also help us to track the impact it has on performance. If employees are not coming to work, of course, they are not available to provide the results that we need to meet financial goals or to get more businesses closed, right? So we also need to track this particular impact on the output of our company's finance, right? So let's dive in. I'm going to go back to the HR and finance data, and I'll just click anywhere on this particular screen, all right? Anywhere at all in my HR and finance data. Now, the next thing I want to do is to go to my Insert tab, and I want to use something called the pivot table. All right. Now, the pivot table is a tool that we use to sort and summarize our data. I know this is as clear as it can be, but then just think of it as, or if I ask a question like this, let me just ask a question. Now, if you have a basket of fruits, let me say a very big basket of fruits, and somebody asks you, how many apples? Let's say you have apples, oranges, and maybe some tangerine, right? And someone asks you, how many apples do you have, right? You might have to drop your basket, sort all the fruits out one after the other before you start counting them, right? That is exactly what the pivot table does for our data. It basically sorts your data and helps you to summarize it. So if I come in here and I say, oh, I want to understand the total revenue for the month of June, or rather for the month of July and for the month of August, right? What happens? Using my pivot table, it summarizes the total revenue I was able to get. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on my pivot table here, and I'll be using an already empty, or rather existing sheet. So I'll just click on existing workbook, and then we head over to that particular page. Okay, so I'll click on my sheet 1, and I'll just select any cell inside of this. Now, this is to give our pivot table a place to build on. All right, a pivot table, a place to build on. So I'll just go ahead and click on that, enter, and OK. All right. So like I mentioned, the pivot table does what? It helps us to summarize our data efficiently. Now we need some key things here. Like I mentioned, we need to look at average performance, the training hours, the absenteeism, and also the count of these employees. All right. So I'm going to dive in here, and over here you would see a list of all the columns that we actually have inside of our data. That is both the finance and the HR data. So I'll locate the performance information, that's the performance score column, and I'll just tick that. All I have to do is just, click on the checkbox there. And the next thing I want to get is the training hours. Okay, get that as well. And also we have the absent days. And I believe we also need to see the total number of employees. So I'll just go with the employee ID here. Okay. And yes, that is that. All right. So we have all the information we need here regarding that. Now, based on what we can see here, we can see a, a larger summary of our data. All right, but not quite. Okay, so I'm just going to move a few things around, like the employee ID. I want to see how many employees, not a listing of the employee ID. So I'll move my employee ID into the value area here. All right, and right here you can see a summary of everything that we have. Although we can't use total sum of performance to give a good report on how well these employees actually did. All right. And then we also have the training hours. We can use the sum of training hours to know how many hours per employee did we exhaust in training, and how did it impact on performance and all of that, right? We need something that is measurable, something that we can understand. So what do we need to do here? For performance score, we're going to look at an average performance. The same applies for training hours and absent days. This will give us a better understanding of what it looks like per employee in the organization. So let me just move this here, over here, all right? That's the values. I want it to be arranged vertically right there. Now, the next thing I want to do now is to go through my data one after the other. So for performance, I'm just going to convert that from sum to average. All right. And I'm also going to make sure that my number is in two decimal places, so I don't have multiple decimal places here. So I have average performance, we have 40. That is over 100, I believe. We have 40%, which is quite poor, if you ask me. All right. Now we're going to do the same for training hours. Let's see how many hours they spend per employee training on a new skill or gaining new skill sets. Okay. And then we go ahead over here. We also have the average, average of absent days. Okay. We also want to look at that as well. For this, I'm going to just go over here and, you know, let's take out the decimal place. I want to see exactly what it looks like without the decimal. All right. So we have an average of 2 days, right? 2 days spent on absent leave on average per employee. And we have 24 hours spent in training on average, all right, which doesn't say well about the kind of training that is being done. If you want to train your employees effectively, I don't think one day should be enough, right? Sometimes we have to go like a week, right? So this is already something that we need to note here or indicate here as probably poor performance impacts, okay? This is why we actually have 40% as our overall performance figure, right? Now, we still need to be able to understand the impact that this HR metrics has on finance. So we are going to look at things like productivity per employee, all right? These are what we call key metrics, all right? So we talked about looking at key metrics already, but we are going to be evaluating some key metrics, which is productivity per employee. This is to see exactly how much money we are spending and how much money we are getting in return, all right? How much money we are spending and how much money we are getting in return. It's a bit of a financial analysis to help us understand if we are at risk of losing more or if we are actually doing well, all right? And we need to keep putting effort towards that same direction. So I'm just going to call this, you know what, let's just go ahead. I'm going to copy this particular pivot table here so I don't have to go back to my main sheet and get a new pivot table. I'll paste that over here, all right, for visibility. Okay. And what I want to do is to take out all of this information. Now, what I need here is going to be the revenue managed, okay, revenue managed, as well as monthly salary. So what does it do? It sums up my revenue managed and my monthly salary outputs, which is fine. But now I'm going to use these two information to get my productivity per employee. All right, my productivity per employee. Now, this particular information is going to allow me understand how much money we are getting back per employee. If we pay an employee $1, how much money are we getting in return at the end of the day? All right. So I'm just going to go ahead here. I'll paste my title as productivity per employee. Okay. And just go ahead and type that. Okay. Productivity per employee. So for productivity per employee, we're looking at what? Dividing the monthly managed, or rather monthly revenue managed from the monthly salary. So I'm just going to go here and use my division slash there. All right, just a quick one. So we can see our figures here. So let's say for each employee, when we pay them $1, all right, we're only generating what? In revenue, we're only generating $1.08, all right, which is not a great figure to look at, all right. It is not a great figure to look at. So far, we're seeing that Novatech Solution is not doing well, not in finance and also not in their people management. All right. So we're just trying to evaluate some of this direct impact and what we are looking at. Now, the next thing we're going to look at here is going to be return on investment per employee. All right. Return on investment. Now, when we talk about return on investment, we are basically talking about how much money we are able to make, or rather, how much profit we are able to make based on the input of the employees that we have in that organization. Okay, how much money we are able to make based on the input of the employees that we have in these organizations. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste this pivot table here again. So for this, we just need a new set of data, and that is no other than the profit contributed by these employees. Okay, and then we're also looking at the cost to company. All right, cost to company would include all the money, including tax deduction that has been paid and all of that, right? So we want to see that amount here. All right, and then we're going to look at return on investment per employee, which is the ROI. All right, the ROI per employee. So for this, we're just going to go ahead and look at the return on investment here, the profit contribution divided by cost per. All right, so for this as well, we can also see that return on investment for each employee is below $1. All right, it's below $1. If I convert this to percentage, it might just be 0.8, okay, 0.8%, right? Which is still very, very low, right? So these are key metrics that help us to detect exactly where we are, all right, in an organization. What are we making? How far are we pushing? What is the result of all of these efforts and large numbers that we have? So it's one thing for an organization to say, oh, we made this amount of money this month. It's another thing for them to understand, based on the expenses that they are making or the work hours that they are putting in, what the return on this investment is and what the value of productivity for each of their employee actually is what. All right. This is to help them understand the kind of individuals that they have and the kind of effort that they need to put in to get the kind of results or return on investment that they need. We already know that employees are the best or the most valuable asset for any organization, right? And if the productivity per employee looks like this, we definitely know that that organization might be in some serious trouble, right? And also for this particular return ROI per employee, we can see what we have here. So if every employee's profit contribution in the organization is this low, we definitely know that there is trouble. Serious what? Serious trouble. But we are not done yet. We want to look at efficiency score. Now, for this efficiency score, we want to basically look at what's the impact of our revenue generated, the amount of money we spent, that's cost to company as well, is against what's it called, training hours. So we'll subtract the revenue generated, which is the money coming in, from the cost of the company. That's the money the company has to spend, and then we'll look at it based on training hours. Now, why are we looking at it against training hours? We want to know if 24 hours is truly enough to get the kind of result that we need. Okay, if 24 hours is truly enough to get the kind of results that we need. I mean, you can see here the average training hour is like 24 hours and some few hours or few minutes. All right, so let's go in. Right here, I'm just going to type in efficiency score. Okay, efficiency score. So for our efficiency score, like I mentioned, we already have some of the calculations here. So I'm just going to click on the cells to select them. All right, so for revenue, I'll take that minus costs incurred here. All right, so I'll just put that in brackets so I can divide it by the training hours. And this is going to give us a result of what actually happens or what's the impact of these particular figures is, all right, the efficiency of our training programs. Is it actually important? Do we need to check it again and all of that? All right, so let's go ahead and bring this in as well. So I'll just go here. All right, so what it basically tells us here is that for every investment in training, all right, we get a profit of or a return of $538. All right, let's put it that way. We get a return of $538. Okay, now I'm just going to go in here and make sure that we have all these figures in here. All right, so we have the euro here, so we're just going to go with that, or rather the pounds. Okay, so we're just going to go with that for today. Okay, although you can always set your currency basically. Okay, but we're just going to go with this today. Same here as well. All right, so basically for every training we're just making 538 pounds. All right, which is good. Okay, it is good. It shows that we have some good investments over here, but then we also need to consider the fact that most of these training programs are only lasting 24 hours, and still we are not making enough money when it comes to the profit returns or the ROI per employee. Now, we need to answer some key questions based on the metrics that we've generated. We're going to be answering some key questions here, and that is the first one is finding out the employee, all right, finding out the employees with the highest return on investment, all right, employees with the highest return on investment. So we have this figure right here, all right, and we can definitely do the same thing for, all these particular, for the column that we have here, that's in the HR and finance data, all right. So what we are going to do is to do what? We are going to replicate what we just did here in our worksheet. That is dividing the revenue managed column from the monthly salary to create a column called productivity per return per return on investment per employee. Okay, so we have profit contribution divided by cost to company. All right, let's go ahead and do that in here. So for this, we just have to create a new column. All right, so I'll just go into this area here. Let me just close this off and scroll back up. So we paste that information there. And like I mentioned, we have to divide the profit contribution from the cost of company. Okay, so we'll get the column that has information on profit contribution. Okay, although we don't need to do all of this, so I'm just going to go ahead and select this. Since I have a cell reference here, and just use my square bracket and get my profit contribution column divided by, okay, divided by cost to company. Okay, so close bracket there and hit enter. All right, so we have all of these figures outputted right now. So if we want to look at which particular employee actually did the best, we'll have to go back to our pivot table. I'm going to just select any part of this pivot table so I can get to the refresh button here. This will allow us to import the new column that we just created, which is the return on investment per employee. Okay, now for this, I'll be creating a new pivot table so that we can quickly visualize that and see which employees are actually performing the best. All right. So first things first, I'll get my employee names. We have a long list for that. And secondly, I'll also get my return per employee. All right. Return on investment per employee. Now, what do we want to get here? We want to get only the top 3 employees that are actually doing well. So I'll be using my filter button here. I'll go to my sort more and I'll be sorting in descending order, not with full name, but with the sum total of return on investment. So we can see right here, once we sort it out, we can see the top 3 employees that are actually doing the best or that are actually making enough impact based on what we have here. So far, so good. We've had a very, very poor performance, but somehow Jimmy Scott, Chad Jones, and David Molina, all right, have been doing a great job. So we can just go ahead and bring all of this in, or in fact, we can also summarize this and get what? We can get our top 3 individuals. So we have the value filter here. I'm just going to go into this top 10 area and I'll select, oh, I just want the top 3 employees. So we'll go in there and do that. All right. So we'll have the value return for only 3 employees. I'm going to highlight this. And I'm also going to create a visual. Going to my pivot table, click on my pivot chart, and I have a chart suggestion here, which I'm also going to take and bring up my information. So right here, it is, very obvious, right? What we are basically looking at. We're looking at the top 3 employees here. You can see their names and their charts showing you how much profit or return on investment they've been able to contribute, right? Although, like I said, we have a very poor metric right now, but then we can still be able to answer that specific question and return some information to our stakeholder. All right. So I believe we are still on the same page. If you are still here, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I can see a lot of comments that come in already. I know we might have a lot of questions as well. All right. Now, if you do have a question, we'll always be here to answer. But before we start answering questions, make sure to drop your questions right there inside of the comment section. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop here today. I believe we've done an amazing job finding out exactly, what we are doing in terms of the metrics that we have to analyze for this particular company in terms of the HR side of things and the impact of finance in HR decision making to help us understand if we are, wasting money in terms of training and if the productivity of the employees actually match up with the finance that they are contributing. So far, we can see that performance scores are not telling any lies because in our productivity metrics, we can also see that each employee is contributing a very small amount to the growth of the company. All right. This does not measure high productivity level. This does not measure great performance level. Okay, so can you kindly send the list of the KPIs you analyze so we can practice? Absolutely. But I also need you to do something. Fill out the attendance form. All right? Fill out the attendance form. Everything that we did here tonight is going to be made available to you. But make sure to fill out the attendance form so you can get a copy of it. Fantastic. Thank you, Kim. All right. So I'm going to be handing over to Priscilla right now. Hi, Priscilla. Okay. So that she can walk you through the rest of this meeting. Okay.
Hi, Mary. Confirm that you can hear me, please.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you for a beautiful session. Hi, everybody. My name is Priscilla, and we'll just pick it up from where Mary left off, right? So before we get started, into the main meat of today's session, I'd like to see your comments in the chat. If you've had a good time so far, please leave a yes in the chat. If you've had a good time following through, if you downloaded the data set and you're able to see the beauty of financial analytics and HR analytics, please leave a yes in the chat. I can see Ken, I can see Tommy, I can see Violet. Who else? We have 32 people on the call. Tanetta, good to have you here. Ido, who else is right here on the call with us? All right, just keep the comments coming, right? This is supposed to be a purely interactive session, and I'm happy that I've been able to get done with the first half of the session. Now, in the next 30 minutes, I'm just going to, show you how you can get started either as a financial analyst or a HR analyst, right? But before we do that, I'd like to, just feel the pulse of the house. If you've joined a Analytics session like this before, right? Or if you've never joined, let's, welcome the people that have never had to join a session like this. So if you've never joined a session like this, please leave a one in the chat so we get to welcome you, into Analytics and what we do here at Analytics. Please leave a one. Okay, Kim, it's good to have you here. Who else is joining us for the first time? Right? Who else is joining? Ido, oh, beautiful. We have a couple of people. Tanetta, who else is joining us for the first time? Well, quite a lot of us on the call, right? I'll need your responses so that we can move ahead with the session. Who else? We have just, three people joining us for the first time. So Azizat, I Billions, Felix, Dr. Linda. Okay, Kelvin, I see you. All right, that's beautiful then. Now, one more question before we get started. HR analytics or financial analytics? Which would it be for you? Please just leave that in the chat. HR analytics, or financial analytics, what would it be for you? What is your preference? Do you prefer to be a financial analyst, or you'd want to be a HR analyst? Please leave that in the chat. Okay, Ibilion says HR, Tanetta HR, Tommy HR, Violet financial analyst. Who else? Please leave a comment. Ido, how about you? Cam, how about you? Kelvin says HR, Felix says financial. It looks like the HR analysts are having it, right? Okay, so let's get started. Let's get right into this session. Now, I'd like to assume that, for majority of us here on the call, we're just looking to transition into these career paths, right? We're looking to transition into these career paths, and we need to understand what it takes. Okay, so what does it take for somebody without any prior experience in HR analytics or financial analytics? Or even if you have experience, what does it take, to get into tech, to get into any of these career paths? Absolutely, it is a no-brainer. You have to get the skills. That is what it takes, right? To get the skills needed, for you to become that HR analyst, that is able to tell the company categorically, that we need to, let employees work from home because their average performance while they're working from home is pretty high, right? If you're looking to get those type of skills, help company make data-driven decisions, be it regarding their finance, be it regarding their people, human resource, you need to get the skills, right? And how do you get the skills? It's by learning. It is a no-brainer, right? It is just basically by learning. Now, for every single person here on this call, I need you to have something in mind, right? You're looking to become a HR analyst or a financial analyst. I need you to understand that you have to get a job after learning. I don't want you to approach this as just one of those usual casual learnings that you just try to do, right? I need you to be very strategic about this particular one. HR analyst, financial analyst, how you learn will determine if you get a job in the tech space, right? Now, some people make this big mistake where they think, oh, they already know what recruiters want, right? I just get the certificate. I can show them on my CV that I have the certificate and all of that, right? And that is all that is required of me. That is absolutely not true, right? In the tech space, you need to come into the tech space fully understanding what it is that recruiters would demand, from you. If I want to give you a job, if you come to me, if I'm a recruiter, and you come to me as a HR analyst or a financial analyst, what would I look out for? That is something you need to have in mind while learning, right? And here in the tech space, employers want just two things from you, just two, right? Your skills and your experience. It is always competence over certification, competence over credentials here in the tech space. It is show me. If you don't take anything from this session, I need you to fully understand that in the tech space, it is show me. Show me what you've got. Show me if you've done this thing before, right? So I can trust you to do it again, right? That is just what employers want from you in the tech space. Competence. Your skills and your experience makes up your competence, right? Now, talking about the skills, you're looking to become a financial analyst, right? Such that you're able to evaluate the financial data of a company to provide insight into their financial performance. What are the things you need to learn? What are the skills, the technical skills that you need to get, right? So the first thing you need to learn how to do is, solve problems or approach problems as a financial analyst will do, right? Now, the way that a financial analyst will approach a problem is very different from the way that an HR analyst will approach a problem, right? So here at Analytics, the first thing we do is to ensure that you develop the mindset of a financial analyst. And I also need to mention that be it a financial analyst or a HR analyst, you are a data analyst that has niched down. So as a financial analyst, you're a data analyst that has niched down into, focusing on financial data, financial statements and the likes. As a HR analyst, you are a data analyst that is now focused on human resource data. So let's get back to the skills that is required of you, the technical skills, to become that financial analyst. Now, the first thing you need to learn is problem solving, right? Then you need to learn Excel. You see what the magic that Mary was able to perform using Excel. Excel is like the bread and butter of every analyst, a financial analyst, a HR analyst, a data analyst. So absolutely, you need to learn Excel, right? Then you also need to learn Power BI, right? Power BI is a business intelligence tool, right? And with Power BI, you're able to connect to multiple data sources, right? You're able to build visually appealing reports because you see all these things that Mary has done, right? The usual route is, to put all of that in a report such that you can showcase, to the stakeholders, to your line managers, and they get to see, the benefits of your analysis, right? And they get to, picture that visually because they don't care about the formulas you used and all of that. They just want to be able to see the impact of your analysis, right? And you help them see that by creating visually appealing reports. And with Power BI, you also get to do that. Then you learn SQL, structured query language, right? This is the language of a database. Okay, by virtue of you being on this call right now, data is being generated. Okay, and say as a financial analyst or HR analyst, you need to understand, okay, what is the average time spent on this call by everybody, the average time. Now, you can't just use Excel to start analyzing because the data that is being generated on this call is getting stored somewhere. That is called a database. And there's only one language you speak to that database to, generate insights from the database. That is your SQL, structured query language. Right? Now, after you get this data analytics part of things, remember, don't forget that as a financial analyst, you are a data analyst, that has now niched down and you're now focused on financial data. So what we've done here at Analytics is as soon as you get the data analytics part of things, we take it into accounting fundamentals. Here at Analytics, we don't like to assume that you already have some form of understanding or knowledge, already before coming to us. We like to assume that you're just that person that has completed their master's and they're looking to get into this role. You're just that nurse, that is looking to transition into tech. You're that teacher that is looking to, get into financial analytics without prior knowledge. Right? So we teach you accounting fundamentals, your basic accounting principles and the likes, right? And then we take it to financial analysis. So when you get a financial statement, how do you perform financial analysis? Right? Your ratio analysis, your profitability analysis, and the likes. And remember, every single thing is being taught to you from the scratch. Then, of course, we take it to financial modeling. So how are you able to tell a company, okay, in the next 5 years, this is how much we'll be making? How do you forecast their financial performance into the foreseeable future? Right? How do you tell them, okay, this is what, how do you tell a startup, okay, this is how much capital, that is required for us to get into business? How much of this should go to debt and how much of this should go to equity? Right? So you get to learn how to build financial models, for startups or even existing businesses. Then, of course, valuation. How do you value a business? Right? That is something every single financial analyst should know how to do. Right? Sensitivity and scenario analysis. Right. So based on the price, of certain products, you've been able to foresee that, okay, in the next 5 years, we'll be making this. Right. But you also need to put into consideration, different scenario. We have the base case, which is your usual assumption. We have the worst case. What if the government implements policies that wouldn't favor us? How would this impact us? Right? We have the worst case, we have the best case as well. Right? And that is something you get to learn, how to implement and do in analytics. Then, of course, ChatGPT for analytics. Now, every single person that you say that is scared of AI taking their job, it's just because they don't know how to use AI. Right? Here at Analytics, we've ensured that if you're choosing to go through any of our training programs, you are able, to use generative AI, to combine AI and incorporate AI into your workflow, which is something every single tech professional should know how to do. Now, these are the things you need to focus on, the skills that you need to focus on, if you're looking to become a financial analyst. Remember, recruiters want two things from you: skills, and your experience. So these are the skills you need to get. What about HR analysts? What are the things you need to learn? Now, of course, remember, like I said earlier, the HR analyst is a data analyst that is focused on human resource data. So absolutely, you get to learn problem solving as well. How do you approach problems as a HR analyst, right? Then you learn Excel, you learn Power BI, you learn SQL, structured query language. Then you now niche down, to dealing with human resource data. What are the various HR KPIs, and how do you evaluate performance? Right? You also get to learn absenteeism and attrition metrics, compensation and pay equity analysis, collaboration and recruitment tracking automation, human resource management system, of course, generative AI, ChatGPT for analytics. Right? So whether you're looking to become a financial analyst or you're looking to become an HR analyst, these are the things you need to focus on. I don't need you to, go on, different job boards and then take note of the skills and then you just keep learning. You fall into the loop of endless learning. Here at Analytics, we've done the heavy lifting for you. Right? We've curated the important things that you need to learn if you're looking to go into either HR analytics and financial analytics. But bear in mind that we take every single key learning area from the very beginning. We do not assume that you already have some form of knowledge already. That way, we are able to teach you in such a way that you gain the skills confidently, right? And then you are able to apply to jobs. Remember, the end goal is to get a job after learning. It is not just to learn. For those of us that are looking to upskill, right? You're already, HR, right? A human resource personnel, and you're just looking to get into the tech part of things, right? The goal for you is to upskill. These are the things that you also need to learn. Okay, now here at Analytics, how's the learning structured? So the learning timeline here at Analytics is for 8 months, right? And these 8 months is split into 6 months learning in class and 2 months of internship. Okay, so we've been in business for a little over 5 years now, and over 95% of the people coming to learn with us, they're working professionals, right? Sometimes you have multiple shifts, you have family that you're trying to catch up with and everything. So we need to ensure that we're making learning as flexible and easy and interesting as we can. So during your 6 months, you have what is called the blended learning approach, where you come to class only on Saturdays, right? And then you choose to learn at your convenience as well. So if you take a look at my screen, you see something called Saturday's live class, right? So your live classes would only be on Saturdays. Now, out of 4 Saturdays in a month, you're attending a live class 2 out of those 4 Saturdays, and each live class is for 3 hours. So you see how flexible that is. Just 3 hours, twice a month, right? And of course, we have the morning and evening class, right? So the morning class is best for people in Europe, UK, Africa, because it is usually 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. what, or 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. UK time. Right? And then we have the evening class, which we recommend to people in North America, right? Because it is usually 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So whether you're in North America, or you're in Europe, okay, you can choose to go for either of them, and stick to your timeline. So you see how flexible this is. For those of us that are currently in Europe and you work in the mornings, you can go for the evening classes, right? For those of us that are in North America and you prefer to learn really early, you can go for the 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. West African time classes. But this is practically how flexible it is here at Analytics, right? Then you have the self-paced. With the self-paced, you're learning at your convenience, right? So from Sunday through to Friday, you get to choose the time and the place. For those of us like me that likes to really, really learn early in the mornings, within 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., you get to choose that time, right? From Sunday through to Friday, you can decide to dedicate, okay, 2 hours on Sunday to your learning, 1 hour on Sunday to your learning. You pick the time and the place. This is how flexible it is here at Analytics. And I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, now we've been able to see the skills that you need to gather, the things that you need to learn. If you're looking to go into HR analytics or financial analytics, don't forget 2 things recruiters would require, of you: skills and experience. So how do you gain the experience? Right? Now, if you think about it, the way that mid-level staff are able to move up the ladder to senior level, it's just by the experience they've been able to gather. What do you think gives them the experience? The projects that they've worked on. Right? And if you want to gain experience in the tech space, that is exactly how you should learn. Learn by working on projects. So you see all those key learning areas that I've talked to you through, you are basically learning them by working on projects. You're not coming to do theories here at Analytics, because right from day one, the focus is how can you learn in such a way that you're able to get a job or achieve your goals. Right? So all the key learning areas here, you are learning by working on projects. You're literally seeing the practical application of what it means to be called the HR analyst, the kind of problems you get to solve. How you approach problems for different companies. You're seeing this in real time. You are learning. You're learning by doing. And that is the best way to learn. Learn by working on projects. So you're not going on YouTube to just soak in videos or going on Coursera to soak in videos. Here at Analytics, you're literally working on projects, right? And that is how you gain experience. That is one way to gain experience. Projects from class. In your Excel classes, you work on projects. Power BI, you work on projects. SQL, you work on projects, right? You're gaining the practical experience. Okay, now after you're learning, there's something called the 2 months of internship. Remember, as a financial analyst, you can work for any company. You get to work on their financial data. Same as the HR analyst for any industry. And remember, in the tech space, it is more show me what you can do. So you want to apply for a HR analyst, in a healthcare industry. The recruiters would require you to have experience in that industry. This is where our internship comes in. Now, your internship will be done in such a way that it expands your horizon. You're able to get experience across different sectors. so that if you want to apply for HR analyst in a certain industry, you can showcase to the recruiter through your internship, okay, these are the projects I've worked on in this industry. And they get to see that you have the experience. Now, the company you'll be doing your internship with is a company called Amdari, a sister company to Analytics, right? And they're registered right there in UK. Okay, so for those of us that come across recruiters that are quite big on UK-based experience, okay, by virtue of working with this company, you are able to take care of that. And I'll show you how as we go on. Right? For those of us in Canada, that come across recruiters that are big on Canadian experience, by virtue of learning with Analytics, you're able to take care of that. Right? And for those of us, that are in America, Analytics is absolutely, accredited by the American Council of Training and Development, globally recognized. Right? Now, that is the second way to gain experience. And of course, all the projects you've worked on, you need to be able to have them somewhere, curate them and have them somewhere. So much so that if a recruiter wants to see the project you've worked on, you just send them a link to your portfolio. There's something called a portfolio, right? Think about it. If you have this very exotic car, right? And you're looking to fix your car. Say that it develops a fault and you're looking to fix your car. You have you have option of choosing between two mechanics. The first one tells you that, oh, I have certifications from Harvard, I can fix your car. And the second one tells you that they literally show you these are the cars I've been able to fix, a Lamborghini, a Bugatti, and all of that. Now, you would naturally gravitate towards the one that can show you, okay, this is what I've been able to do. That is liking to getting a portfolio. So all those projects you've worked on here at Analytics, you have to show evidence by putting them in a portfolio. And that is something we teach you, how to build here at Analytics. So you see, as a beginner, that teacher that you are, the nurse, the healthcare assistant, the master's student, and you're looking to transition into tech, two things, skills and experience. And I've been able to show you the skills that you need to get, as well as the experience and how you can gain these experiences. Right? Now, absolutely, the key goal is to get a job, right? And the beauty of the training here at Analytics is that after you've gone through the financial analytics, career path, or the program, and you've gone through the HR analytics program, here are some jobs you can apply to. Now, you're not stuck on just looking for financial analyst roles or HR analyst roles alone. Now, taking the financial analyst role, you're able to apply to some roles in data analytics. Remember that as a financial analyst, you're a data analyst that is now niched down to financial data. So you're absolutely able to work, in some roles as a data analyst. Then, of course, financial analyst, investment analyst, commercial analyst, credit analyst, treasury analyst, financial planning and analysis analyst, pricing analyst, portfolio analyst, corporate financial analyst, and so much more. These are the jobs you're able to apply to after going through the key learning area here at Analytics, gaining the technical skills as well as the experience. Then for the HR analyst, you're able to also apply to some roles in HR analytics, right? You're also able to apply to some roles in data analytics, pardon me. Then, of course, HR analytics, people analytics, workforce planning analyst, talent analytics specialist, compensation analyst, benefit reward analyst, talent analyst, HR operations analyst, and so much more. So after going through the key learning areas here, if you see any of these roles, you have the skills to apply to them. Right? You have the skills to apply to them. Right? And here at Analytics, we've been able to come up with a job equation formula. Right? Remember, that you will need the technical skills and your experience, right? But to get that job, to be able to position properly, there's something called employability skills. Now, employability skills combined with technical skills would ensure that you get a job. And with the employability skills, that is how you stand out. Right? If you go right there on LinkedIn and you search for financial analyst or you search for HR analyst, you see a lot of people. But I bet you over 80% of those people that you see do not have jobs. right? So you coming into the pool, right? Being a financial analyst, HR analyst, how do you stand out? Okay, how do you become competitive? Right? That is where the employability skills comes in. It is not enough to get the technical skills, have a project or portfolio, right? You need to have your CV. I mean, we already know that your CV goes ahead of you. It speaks before you do. It gets into the door before you do, right? And here at Analytics, 2 months into the training, we have what is called the CV review and revamp. Now, you are a HR analyst, you are a financial analyst, right? You want to apply for a job. You have to ensure that your CV is properly optimized, right? So what we've been able to do is we're able to, provide you with a standard HR analyst CV or financial analyst CV, one that beats the applicant tracking system any day, anytime. They contain the right keywords, right? We provide them to you and we teach you how to tailor your CV or your experience according to that CV. Okay, now on your CV as well, remember that you are learning by working on projects. You are gaining experience by learning. During your internship, you're also gaining experience. So you have the opportunity to have on your CV that you have worked for Tenalytics, right? And I'm Dari as consultant or contractor, HR analyst consultant, or HR analyst even, financial analyst, right? Imagine coming from being an absolute beginner, right, without prior experience, and you have 2 work experiences right there on your CV. Now, you're able to confidently have those on your CV, both your work experience while learning at Analytics and the one with Amdari, because of how you are learning. Remember the project you're working on. You're working on these projects yourself. So you are practically gaining the experience and you can defend that any day, anytime. If somebody wakes you up and say, okay, this work experience with Amdari, tell us a time when you worked with Excel. You are able to confidently state that because you have worked with Excel using projects. So what we've done is to provide you with job descriptions that would summarize the projects you've worked on and their impact. So you would have 2 work experiences that you can defend any day, anytime. Now, this is what happens with our CV review and revamp. Remember those job roles that I showed you can apply to? The HR analyst, the financial analyst job roles. If you're trying to apply to every single job, like you say you say the role of an HR analyst, of a compensation or benefit analyst, your CV, has to be tailored to that job. You don't use one CV to apply to multiple roles. We have this standing principle here at Analytics. You have to ensure to get the best, from every application, you have to ensure that your CV is tailored to that job role, right? And this is something you learn how to do here at Analytics, right? Then, of course, LinkedIn optimization. In the tech space, it is show me, right? Recruiters will go on LinkedIn to see what you've done, right? As an HR analyst, as a financial analyst, they're setting keywords that your LinkedIn profile has to carry. Here at Analytics, sometimes if we're looking to fill up roles, we go on LinkedIn and we search and we see top profiles. Now, in your location, if a recruiter is looking to fill up the role of an HR analyst or a financial analyst, your profile has to carry the right keywords. And all of that you will get from your LinkedIn optimization here at Analytics, such that your name pops up in the search amongst the top profiles, right? And then you'd also have a link to your portfolio right there on your LinkedIn profile. You'll have Tenalytics as your work experience, so much so that when they are reaching out to you, they've already seen everything they need to see, right? And they're reaching out to you, it is, okay, when is the earliest time that we can get on a call? This is how a lot of people are able to get jobs, complete beginners, right? They've learned with Tenalytics, they've gained the skills, they've gained the experience. This is one way, one sure way, that they are able to get jobs by having their LinkedIn profile properly optimized. Then, of course, navigating the job market. So what we've done here at Analytics to ensure that you stand out and you get a good chance is, apart from the regular job boards you have access to, your LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed, and the likes, we at Analytics, we paid to other premium job boards. right? And what we've done is to scrape these openings, these fresh openings, and provide them to you. So we've done the heavy lifting. You don't have to bother about paying because we already paid for them. All you have to do is just come and apply. And guess what? We'll be teaching you how to apply as well. So we're teaching you how to apply. Your CV is well optimized. You have the right skills. You have a portfolio. Your LinkedIn profile is right on par, right? And you're applying to the job. All you have to do is just come and apply, right? Then, of course, it would prep you for interview, right? So you can see how everything here at Analytics is done intentionally to ensure that you're able to get a job after learning. Now, if you have applied to jobs and you have an interview coming up, you don't have to worry. Right at Analytics, you can book what is called an interview preparation session, where you have a professional that will do their finding about the company. They will get your CV, right? And they will prep you for that interview. They're able, because of the way they've done their research, they've taken a look at your CV, they're able to preempt questions that you're likely to get. Right? Now, as simple as introduce yourself, a lot of us usually fumble at it. But during your interview preparation, you learn how to do these things, right? To answer competency-based questions. Tell me about one time you used Power BI or SQL, right? Those are competency-based questions. And during your interview, if you have an interview coming up, you get to learn all these things, right? Then, of course, job reference letter. Remember, on your CV, you have 2 work experiences, Analytics and Amdari. Of course, recruiters will come back to us, to provide you with recommendation letter, right? And that is something we are able to do. Something that would tell well of you, of your experience and your journey at Analytics. Okay, then we have on-the-job support. Now, with this on-the-job support, a lot of our students don't usually come back for this, but we still have this handy, right? Just in case, you get into your role, the first role as a financial analyst, and you come across a project, right? And you don't know, the next step. You can come back to Analytics to get support right there on the job. Then we have weekly mentorship sessions. Now, in these weekly mentorship sessions, you have people that have walked the talk, right? Today, we'll be having one of our mentorship sessions, and it is called Body Mentorship, where people that have gotten jobs, they come back to tell the student of your experience. These are the things you need to do, right? These are some mistakes I made that you need to avoid. Right? During your mentorship, you also have global recruiters, coming into the sessions to mentor you, right? Your interview, your negotiation, salary negotiation, and all of that. These are things you get to learn, right? During your mentorship. Then, of course, you have Upwork optimization. So Upwork is more like a freelance platform, right? Such that if you want to make quick bucks, right? You just want to be able to do the build a financial model for pricing for a company, and you want to be able to do that just on a contract basis, right? On Upwork, you can do that, get your quick bucks, and you're out. So for those of us that like to freelance, we also have Upwork optimization. So the technical skills and your employability skills, this is how you're certain and you're sure to get a job. And this is how you stand out. Now, I know I've been saying a lot of things, but I've also, been able to display evidence. In the tech space, it is show me. So I've told you, okay, these are the things you need to learn. This is how you stand out. Are there people that have done these things before? Absolutely. Right? So you see here on my screen, Chika, right? Chika landed a full-time role as a financial analyst in the UK. Right? That is after training with us. And what we were able to do is we prepped him for his interview, of course, provided him with job reference letter. And according to Chika, of course, we've been a blessing, right? We also have Solomon. For those of us that are complete beginners, this is one story I like to tell. Solomon was an engineering graduate, right? Solomon's first job as a financial analyst, I literally recommended him for that role, right? All he had to do is just come to Analytics and learn, right? I recommended him for that role, right? And right now, Solomon is working with one of the big fours. Imagine being an engineering graduate. Then, of course, we have Grace. We also have Akintayo. Akintayo was able to get the job as a chief financial officer after learning with us. right? Then, this is a lot of people sharing, okay, via email, right? How they were able to get jobs. Sometimes, we'll have the recruitment company or the recruiter is trying to reach out to us for a recommendation letter. And right here on my screen, this is somebody, that was able to get a job after training. Now, our communication was via email, right? Now, if you want to read all of this, I've tried to put them right here on my slide. Just ensure that you're filling the feedback form so that when this is available, you can take your time, go over, right? This is another person called Amaka, right? Amaka is right there in Canada, right? And she started learning here at Analytics. Amaka has a job right now as an HR data analyst with Sask Energy. Now, remember the job boards I said, okay, we paid for so that you can apply, right? This is how Amaka was able to get that job. So you can see Amaka telling me earlier this year, I'm overwhelmed, but with good news. I have 3 job interviews. Most importantly, I have an interview with Sask Energy for HR data analyst role, one of the jobs you posted. I need help prepping for this interview as I really want this particular job. And you can see when Amaka told me that she got the job, I was super elated, right? So if you're looking to transition, right, to become that HR analyst, to become that financial analyst, we have the laid down strategy. All you have to do is just plug into the strategy and you've set yourself up for success, right? We also have Sonia here that was able to land her first role as an HR analyst in the UK. The game changer for Sonia, was when she listed analytics on her LinkedIn profile as a work experience. And that is something you get here at Tenalytics, right? Remember that as an HR analyst or a financial analyst, you are a data analyst as well. So I've also included some, data analytics testimonials, right? From people that were stay-at-home moms, from people that were teachers and the likes. And you can take your time to go through, after you've gotten the link to the recording and the link to the slide. Right? So you literally know the right step to take now. You know what you need to do if you want to transition into becoming that HR analyst or that financial analyst. So how can you get started? How can you kickstart your learning journey? Right? It is by joining our next class that begins on the 8th of November. So we have a course starting on the 8th of November, right? The best time to get into tech was yesterday. The next best time is today. Unfortunately for you being on this call, Tenalytics has a cohort starting right on the 8th of November, and that is how you get started. Right? Now, you want to get started on the 8th of November. What is the cost? Right? What would it cost you to get started? Now, the cost of the training here at Analytics, the full amount is 1,000 US dollars. In pounds, that would be 820 pounds. Right? But we have a discount ongoing. Remember, here at Analytics, our goal is to help people get into tech as easily as possible. So we've been able to come up with a 25% discount, such that instead of paying 1,000 US dollars, all you need to pay is 750 US dollars, a whopping $250 off. Right? And the most juicy part that you will find interesting is you see that $750, you don't have to worry about paying the entire thing before you get started. Whether you're looking to start in November, or even in December, you don't have to worry about paying 750 US dollars. You can get started with as little as 150 US dollars. Right? You start with 150 US dollars, you get the skills, right? You're getting prepped for interview and all of that. That is all that is required of you. Now, my colleagues are sharing the link, to the payments platform. And what I want to do is to walk you through how you can go about making payments right now. Right? So you are looking to secure a discounted slot. Remember, discounts always come with conditions. And I would also tell you what the condition would be for this discount, right? But you want to make payment, right? You want to start in November, or you even want to start, sometime in December, right? Just tap on the link that my colleagues are sharing. Right there in the chat. And when you click on it, it brings you to this platform. This is called the Tenalytics, learning management system. right? As soon as you get here, all you have to do is scroll down. Now, you want to become a financial analyst, a HR analyst, or even any of the career path we have here. Click on the link. It brings you here. And what you want to click, I'll be using the financial analytics for demo, right? You want to click on buy now. Right? That is what you want to click, buy now. Now, as soon as you click on buy now, it brings you here, right? And you'd see this small tab here, that contains enroll now. So you also want to click on enroll now, and it will prompt you to create an account, and that you can do in less than a minute. Now, as soon as you're done creating the account, it brings you to this page, right? You'll see confirm your enrollment. Our class, the next class is starting on the 8th of November, and we also have a class that is beginning in December. So depending on the one you want to go for, whether you want to go for, the November class or you want to go for the December class, you have the opportunity to pick either of them, right? And as soon as you pick them, you scroll down and you see the payment options. Remember that I said that the $750, you don't have to worry about paying the large chunk. You can start with as little, as $150. That is if you want to go for the 5 monthly installments. The program is for 8 months. What going for the 5 monthly installments means is by the 5th month, you're still making payments. By then, you're literally seeing what you're paying for, right? While you're still paying, you're getting access to the employability skills. You're getting access to interview prep, right? You're definitely seeing what you're paying for. This is a beautiful win-win situation, right? So for the 5 monthly installments, what you need to get started is $150 for 5 months. Right? If you want to go for the 4 monthly installment, you need $187.05. If you want to go for 3 installments, you need $250, and in 3 months, you'll be done with the payments. But then if you want to go twice or you want to go once, you have a further discount. It's just the net present value effect of money. So if you want to pay twice or pay once, instead of $750, you get to pay $712. Right? That is if you're looking to pay twice or once. But whichever one suits you, you see how flexible this is. Right? Now, right here on the platform, you have at the top here, you have what is called a currency selector. So if you want to pay in another currency, you're in UK, you want to pay with pounds, you're in Europe, you want to pay with euros, you can click on the drop down here and pick any currency you'd like to pay in. Right? And so you pick the currency you'd like to pay in, right? Click on the payment option that works best for you and click on apply discount. Right? Now, as soon as you click on apply discount, it applies the discount for you, right? So that you don't get to pay $1,000. You get to pay $750. You want to go for the 5 installment, you pay $150 every month. Right? Now, after you click on apply discount, you want to scroll down, right? And just check the box that says, I confirm that my information is correct, as well as I've read the Analytics terms and conditions. Right? So that is how you check the boxes and you click on pay now and you're good to go. You put in your card details and you are good to go. Very simple, very easy. Right? So you want to get access to the 25% discount. Remember, I said there are conditions to it. Right? Now, this discount is ending tomorrow, the 31st of October. Right? So whether you want to start in November or you want to start in December, you need to take advantage of this discount before tomorrow ends. Otherwise, you get to pay more. And for every single person on this call, why do you want to pay more, when you can pay less? Right? So I'd encourage you, you're looking to start your financial analytics journey, or you're looking to start your HR analytics journey, secure a slot as soon as possible. Right? So at this juncture, I'd like to take your questions, right? So if you have a question, you're going about the payment, and you have a question to ask, right? So you can put it right there in the chat. But so far, I hope you've had a good time. I hope I've been able to show you the things you need to learn if you're looking to get started, how you need to learn them, and also how you stand out. Right? So if you have a question, for me at this point, please click on the chat box and leave your questions, right? So we have the next couple of minutes to take questions, right? And while we're taking questions, do well to ensure that you are securing your discounted slot. Okay, so if you have a question, please leave the question in the chat. Okay, and just to fill the pulse of the house, if you had a good time so far, right? You've enjoyed the session, both the practical aspect and this aspect that talks to or that speaks to how you can get started, please leave a yes in the chat, right? If you've enjoyed every bit of your time, right? Kindly leave a yes in the chat so I know that we're still here, and we've enjoyed the session so far. Please leave that yes in the chat, all right? So can we still hear me? If you've had a good time so far, please leave a yes in the chat, right? So I know, okay, that you've had a good time so far, and absolutely. So I see you, Eddie. I see you, Idoru. I see you, Tommy. I see you, Solo Trills, Violet. Absolutely. All right. So does anybody have a question for me before we call it a day? So we've been together for the past 1 hour 50, and I appreciate your time, right? So I'll say it again. Why pay more, when you can pay less? So do well to secure a discounted slot. Here at Analytics, we have the proven strategy. You don't have to worry. Just come and learn. Come and learn, how to get a job in the tech space using the skills you'll be acquiring. So I can't see any questions in the chat. So is it safe to assume that we did not have questions at this point? Okay, so Annie is asking, how do I pay second installment on the app if I paid the first of a 2 installment today? Okay, so right there on the app, you'll be putting your card details, right? So it is something called auto pay. So if you secure a slot today, being the 30th of October, right? The next time your second installment will be due, on the 30th of November, right? So it just gets deducted, right? And not to worry, before it gets deducted, you get reminders. Okay, but say that, let me also show you one beautiful thing, right? So say that you're unable to, you pay on the 30th of October, right? And the next time your paycheck will be coming in, wouldn't be, maybe it would be the first week, in November, right? Or say the first week in December, right? Right here on the platform, you have the opportunity to edit the next date that your payment will be due. Right? So say you can make the second installment on the 30th, right? You can choose to make it on the 6th of December, right? Or the 7th or the 8th. This is how flexible it is here at Analytics, right? So Annie, I hope I've been able to answer your question. So it gets deducted automatically, right? And with your knowledge, of course, you'll be notified. Right? So yes, that's absolutely beautiful. So everybody on the call, before we call it a day, do well to secure a discounted slot. So with this being said, okay, so Solo Trails, Cecilia is asking, how much is your data analyst cost and how long does the cost last? Okay, so the data analytics program is, the same price, with the discount, you get to pay $750 US, right? And the program is for 8 months, 6 months learning, 2 months of internship, Cecilia, right? $750 US with the discount. So you're saving $250. So Solo Trails is joining this call will just reawaken the ginger I had because I'm starting in November, the business analyst cohort. My question is, what as a business analyst, can you do jobs that HR and sorry, do you mean Solo Trails? Do you mean like HR analyst jobs? Right? So, okay. So remember the skills you'll be getting as an HR analyst. That is not what a business analyst will be getting. Although the business analyst will be getting a data analytics aspect, that is how you can do something related to data analytics, but definitely not related to HR analyst. Right? Because you would need to, measure your HR KPIs, the metrics, and those are not things you'll be learning as a business analyst. The business analyst, would have their unique key learning areas, their unique strength, right? So I hope that answers your question. Cecilia, you're absolutely welcome. When is the next cohort starting? So we have a cohort starting next month. Yes, next month, okay? So in my head, we're already in November, but the cohort starts on the 8th of November. Right? That is when the next cohort is starting. So you want to go for data analytics, you want to go for HR analytics, financial analytics, any of them, right? The next class begins on the 8th of November. All right. So absolutely. I hope I've been able to take every single question, right? If there are no more questions, we'll call it a day. right? Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sticking around for 1 hour, 55 minutes, right? And I hope you had a good time, right? So I hope to see you in class. Cecilia, solo drills, absolutely, you're settled in for November. I also hope to see you, Annie, right? Come the 8th of November or even December. So please enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful time, right? So ensure you're filling the attendance form. Ensure you go ahead to make payment. If you have further questions, right there, on my slide, you'll see numbers to reach out to, or you'd even have people reaching out to you. All right. So please enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good time. Cheers.